and welcome back to Flowers Spring. How you doing? Hey, you probably noticed that this video is an awful lot shorter than every other video in the list. And if you've played this game before, you're probably also going, wait a minute, Polly, that does not make sense. How are you doing Rikka's ending, but it's only going to be like this short of a video? Well, I'll explain that. So this game, the first volume of the Flowers series, has two endings. There is a Mayuri ending, which is the ending that we got the last time we were together. It was wonderful, it was beautiful, it was gorgeous, and then it punched me in the gut. And then there is the Rikka ending, which is what we are going to explore now. Again, the Mayuri ending is considered the canon ending, and that is where the second game picks up from. The Rikka ending is a non-canon ending, and it's the ending that results in the lily on the UI. There is a lily. I've pointed it out a few times during the playthrough, but there is a lily on the UI that's actually conveniently hidden behind my model most of the time. But as you make choices, it blooms and unblooms. And if you make the correct choices, it blooms, and those put you on the Mayuri route. And to get the Rikka route, you largely achieve that by making Suoh take actions that are usually the path of least of resistance. And in Mayuri's route, Suoh is constantly pushing herself to be better, while in the Rikka route and the extra scenes, she kind of stagnates more and doesn't really feel like she progresses quite as much as a character. The Rikka route requires you to still play through a good portion of the game, and thankfully you can skip past all of the scenes that Rikka's route has in common with Mayuri's route, but you do get about 3 hours of different scenes that are interesting, and they're a bit different from how things go on the Mayuri route, and those scenes are what we are not going to be seeing. I have played through them, and I will probably handle the rest of the series this way, where we play the canon route, and then we will go over the other endings, but nothing major changes in the story along the way. Like, the story beats are still largely the same, like the mysteries with the books, like Mayuri getting lost in the forest and you having to solve the Italy 17. All of that stuff still remains largely the same. There's some slight variance on the dialogue, and then there are, again, about 3 hours of extra scenes that they're just they're different scenes, but I didn't really feel that while they would have been nice to include in the video series, I guess, it felt to me like we had already kind of hit the canon point of the story, and I feel it's maybe better to present this whole thing in this way for my own sanity. If that's not how you want to experience this series, you have my apologies. I understand. But I feel like for my own enjoyment, it's better for me to handle this series in this way. So, but is the things that do pop up on the Rikka route that are a bit different, or that I felt were worth noting anyway, is there's a really cute scene with Komikado and Suoh early on where they do some gardening together, and after they're finished, they have a bit of an intimate moment, and it maybe read a little bit more horny to me than it was supposed to, but Komikado ends up playing a very very intense game of footsie with Suoh. It was interesting, to say the least. We also end up learning that some of Erika's family consider her a burden, and were relieved to see her go to the academy, to kind of like, not have to take care of her as often anymore. And that was That was kind of an eye-opening one, but we had to have kind of figured some things like that were probably going on with her. The Bloody Mary stuff plays out a bit differently too, but everything for the most part ends up going where it's supposed to go up through chapter 6, which is where all of the Rikka ugliness comes out. The Feast of the Assumption, Virgin Mary plot, and Yuzuriha's incident. So we arrive at the point where Suoh has had enough, and she wants to talk Rikka out of the relationship because she's being forced into. And the ending proper starts during this confrontation where, in this version of events, you're given a prompt on whether to accept Rikka's advance or not when she pins her against the wall and is basically just threatening her. It's just like, you know, like, I will just intimidate you into staying in the relationship. And in Mayuri's route, Suoh rejects that flatly on her own and manages to get out of the situation. And that's where we're going to pick up now. So there's 6 minutes of me babbling for nothing. But again, I think this is how we're going to handle the rest of the series going forward. I do want to try and capture all of the endings. But unless the alternate scenes present some things that I feel are very important to the canon plot, I think I'll just read those on my own. There is something that I've already been made aware of in the second game that I need to do, that I'll need to make sure to grab all of the endings and stuff for that one, because there's an extra scene that ties into the third game. So I will be doing that. Somebody's already kind of given me a heads up on some stuff, but enough of me blabbering. Let's just get to the ending. So this is where you're given the choice to accept Rikka or don't accept Rikka. And in the original Mayuri route, you're not given this option. So now that she's basically kind of like forced the issue, we're going to just accept her. She takes a few steps back and her expression is so pathetic that I want to look away. I also pull back. Why did I pull away? Oh, also, yeah, I'll go ahead and point out the lilies. It's pretty much shrunk to nothing. It's dead. So it's just like, again, like Suoh did not blossom as a person, so the lily flower did not blossom either. Just wanted to point that out. Seeing Rikka looking down and trembling somehow feels nostalgic. She is lamenting that she has no place to belong. Before my grandfather took me in, I was the same way. My life with my stepmother gave me no sense of belonging. I learned piano in order to make a place for myself, and desperately tried to ingratiate myself. I see my younger self crying. I see my younger self in Rikka as she stares down. You're pretty awful, Rikka. I mean, that's pretty indisputable. A single stream of tears runs down my cheek, creating a path for new tears to flow. I wipe away the wetness with my finger and smile at Rikka in her anguish. Rikka did share her past again on this route, so we know about her whole situation and why she feels rejected and forced to always have to be the best she can be. No different from mine, I say. Her eyes, imploring me from behind her glasses, tug at my heart. I can't forsake her like this. She squints sadly. She must be.
同情を誘った卑怯者だって
I mean, I
な
would.
じってもいい
She squeezes my hand and says in a tearful voice. I shake my head in silence.
拒絶なんてしないわ。リッカは私のことを好きだと言ってくれた。でもそれは友人としてなのか、あなただからなのか。
スオさん
Adds the san back. Thank you for giving her back the san in her name. Could move this relationship back a little bit, put it in reverse.
からもう少しだけ時間をちょうだい。私自身の気持ちをしっかりと見定めて。
In the red room, she trembles like a scolded child who is about to cry, then gives a single nod. Two weeks have passed since then, I think, as I reflect on the past while letting the breeze wash over me. A few days after I figured out my feelings and told her, the news came that Miss Yatsushiro had hit her head and had to be hospitalized. The site where Yatsushiro was hit was under the cherry trees, which Mayuri had been cleaning, meaning that Mayuri had come under suspicion as the culprit. The one who made the first move to help the now alienated Mayuri by trying to find the real culprit was Rikka. She'd asked around to many people and even snuck into Yatsushiro's room to find evidence, all to clear Mayuri's name. So again, this is Suoh being a more passive entity rather than the proactive person that she had become, because she was on that shit like flies on shit. In Mayuri's route. Ultimately, 1 week after the blow to the head, Yatsushiro was released from the hospital. When she returned to school, she declared that Mayuri was not the culprit. While we had been unable to clear Mayuri's name, she recognized how Rikka and I had done everything we could for her. And now I'm happy that the three of us have gone back to how things were before. I'd been there watching as Rikka searched for the culprit in earnest. I raised my head at the sound of someone plopping down beside me and smiled at her.
どう？綺麗なところでしょ。
ええ菜の花が咲いていればもっと綺麗だったでしょうけど
That this is the date that Mayuri and Suoh were supposed to go on, but she left. Big sad right now. It's so nice out here, she says, stretching widely as she looks up at the sky. It's a precious sunny day during the rainy season. Fluffy clouds drift leisurely across the endless sky. We stare at the sky in silence for a while, not wanting to disturb the calm air around us. But I must start somewhere.
今日ここに誘ったわけ聞いてくれる？
Pulls out an axe.
ええ、誘ったわけは教室でのあの日話した約束のこと。
Still staring at the sky, she says that is what she thought and smiles through her pained expression.
まゆりさんの疑いも晴れたしアミティエも元通りになった。いい機会だものね。
リッカ、私は
She tells me that it's fine.
あの日の私はおかしかったのよ。誰が一番だなんて決めなくてもいい。居場所はアミティエとしてある。そうでしょ？
She smiles, but even now her expression
だ
is.
から何も言わないで。私はもう
Have you really?
いやよ、私はね、リッカ。あなたに待ってほしいと言ってからずっとあなたのことを考えていたわ。あなたの隣にいてまゆりさんを心配し励ますあなたを、自分がされたことのように犯人を見つけようとするあなたを。
That's right. The girl who had been there for me since I first met her.
あなたは自 自分に居場所がないと言った。でもこの学院でたくさん思い出を作ってきた。
The day she made tea for me. The day we told secrets in bed together. The joy of sharing secrets. How happy I was, me, who had so earnestly wished for a friend.
あなたとの出会いからたくさんの思い出が私の中に残っている。それが私たちを形作っている。
スオンさん。
リッカは逃げずに私へ向き合ってくれた。だから私もきちんと自分の言葉であなたへの思いを伝えるわ。私はこれからもこの学院でリッカと思い出を作っていきたい。
The moment I try to say those final words, a tear falls from Rikka's eye. Then,
嘘。卑怯な真似をした私が求められるわけない。
いいえ、これは私が決めたこと。誰に強制されたからでもないわ。ねえ、リッカ。
I stretch my hand to her cheek and wipe away the tears. I stare straight into her eyes, quivering behind her glasses.
私だけにあなたの紅茶を入れてほしいの。
A little rude. Yeah, like Erica deserves some tea. Like Ichigo and Ringo definitely deserve some tea. After all the shit you put Mayuri through, you're gonna tell me she doesn't deserve tea? Yuzuriha deserves tea. She just got a head injury. If I got a concussion and nobody made me tea, I think I'd be a little angry. She blinks and says yes with a smile, nodding. Her smile is beautiful, like a summer wind. I wished and strived to find my place at the academy, but I just hadn't realized that I had a place all along. Rikka's been by my side the entire time, and she'll stay by my side forever. Yes, she herself. Thanks for accepting me as your gal pal! Alright. So that is Flowers Volume 1. Again, I don't know when we're going to get to starting the second volume. But again, knowing that Erica is the main character. Knowing that Erica is the main character of the second volume. Obviously, I think that's going to push that game up the queue a little bit. So, thanks so much for watching this series. If you struggled through it with me and all of the weird technical issues I had and being sick and, I don't know, me just being kind of a dumbass, because that's just me. But this was really fun. Again, I'm sorry if the way that I'm kind of choosing to handle this series doesn't quite jive with you. I just think that in the long run, it's going to make it easier for me to do. Kind of like just enjoying those more optional scenes on my own rather than having to record every little thing. So yeah, if you're on board the we're gonna stay as canon as we possibly can train while exploring the other endings, I appreciate that. If this is where you bounce, I completely understand. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your whatever, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.